Welcome, everybody, to a broadcast of Auburn iRacing today. We have Cil Sportscar Racing. It is from Barcelona, Catalunya Historic here on iRacing. You're seeing number 33, Pierce Hanley, right now, going around for a warm-up. 3.5 minutes left on this warm-up as we get ready to start this event tonight. There are two Auburn racers in the event today. First up on your screen, as I mentioned, is Pierce Hanley in the Aston Martin. Pierce is a senior from Birmingham. This is his second year with the team, and he is a finance major and the current president of Auburn iRacing. Your other Auburn driver in the race tonight is number 91, Nathan Roth in the Corvette, starting in 8th. Good qualifying for Roth today. Outperformed the expectations of one of the senior members in this group, and did so very well. Junior from Huntsville is Nathan. This is his third year with the team, and he is an aerospace engineering major. So as we get set for this, I'm Micah Farmer, joined today by Keegan Miller. Keegan, it's great to have you on here for the first time today, and what are you excited to watch today?
Yeah, I'm excited to get underway. And obviously, we're still early into the season. Pierce making his first start, so he's got the experience from just being a senior. But it's going to take him some time maybe to get back into the race pace of things. Nathan on his third start this year ran decently well at Daytona or Fuji, and then ran a little bit further back at Daytona. But since 15th the points right now, but like you mentioned, qualified ahead of both of those positions. So let's see if he can make some things happen in the field today.
Yeah, I think the main question today, Keegan, has to be, can anyone beat Connor Burns? Burns is top of the GT3 standings right now, has won both events to start the season, both Daytona and Fuji, and the ETSU drivers look pretty impervious so far in that Lamborghini to start.
Well, some bad news. He's starting on pole for the first time, so he's done both those wins not on pole. But starting on pole today, he's got a good shot. So
yeah, it's definitely going to be a tough challenge for the rest of the grid. Running through your other top starters, James Bowman, the Kentucky driver, will be in second. We mentioned Pierce in third. Then Caleb Larson and Mark Maloff will roll off fourth and fifth in a pair of Fords. Evan Mayno will roll off sixth in a McLaren. Steele Beasley in a Ferrari will be rolling off seventh. Then your Auburn driver Nathan Roth in eighth. Evan West in a Mercedes in ninth. And then Arpad Kovac in his Porsche will round out the top 10 for GT3. We will be mainly focused on your GT3 battle tonight, as that are where both your Auburn drivers will be, but we also do have a GTP class, and it'll be Jake Cummings starting up near the front for those guys, as it's a lot of BMWs and a lot of Porsches in that class today. Cummings is your current GTP points leader. So both of your points leaders starting towards the front in the classes, it definitely appears to be a case of you'll have to get through the best to win today in Barcelona.
So what can we expect strategy-wise with it being an hour-long race? We're projected around 30, 33 laps. What do you expect to see from these guys as far as tire wear and strategy?
Well, tire management is going to be key early. If you have watched some of these events prior, it really is whoever can save their tires towards the back end of the stint that's really going to help you out, because at the end of the day, this is iRacing. This is a slightly more amateur league, especially with college students, even though some of them are vastly experienced. So just whoever can be the smartest, it's always going to be tempting to push early and try to use the best of your tires quickly, but you don't want to shock your tires. You don't want to really do too much to them too early. So I think whoever is the most calm at the start can get through the chaos and save their stuff for the end is definitely going to be in a good position as time winds down, as the clock on this warm-up hit 0 and we get ready to get going here at Barcelona. I'm excited. This is my first time calling CIL Sports Cars. You may have heard me earlier this week on the CIL NASCAR broadcast for the Cup Series, as Auburn had two drivers finish in the top 6, and Reese Baham and Logan Smith in that race. Looking to do more of the same tonight with Pierce and Nathan.
Yeah, and just like that, we're here. We're about to get gritted, get rolling, and get this race underway.
It's definitely going to be a good one. I know a lot of you will probably be familiar with this Barcelona track, especially those of you who are F1 fans and watch the F1 cars go here pretty much every year, although with the Madrid circuit coming in, we might be seeing the last of this circuit over the next couple seasons, and I definitely hope that isn't the case, because I enjoy watching racing on the circuit. I think now, especially at the layout we're at today with these sports cars, your final two corners are a lot better. You don't have that clumsy chicane toward the back end of the lap. I think that makes it a lot easier to follow a little bit closely. Obviously, you're still going to have dirty air through the back, but we will have an entertaining race for sure. And I know a lot of these iRacing events, it's extremely close racing all day long up and down the pack. So I am definitely excited for that to get going. As you see, rolling off from the starting grid is Jake Cummings, and we will now all get underway for this formation lap. As the GT3s are thinking about it.
Almost all of us.
Yeah. Waiting for that class split, I would assume. Take a look at the GTP field today. Like I said, it is Jake Cummings on pole, Thomas Crump behind him, Adam Wilby in third, Jonathan Ocasio fourth, and Wyatt Burton in fifth is your GTP field. Like with real life IMSA racing and WEC racing, for those of you familiar with that, a little bit of a smaller GTP field than your GT3s usually. We haven't quite seen the manufacturer boom as we have in real life with GTP manufacturers here, but we are looking to get underway. As you see, start lights are on and getting ready to go here at Barcelona. Coming toward the line is Cummings. And we are underway. As the hour clock gets started, Cummings is going to jump out to a lead here in GTP as they hurtle down towards turn number one, looking to see if all 5 drivers will get through cleanly. And it appears that they will not, as we have a spinner from the back. That was Ocasio off towards the back of the field, I believe. Is now following the GT3 pack, everyone trying to get through cleanly. Once again, they're going to have to deal with that spinning GTP as Pierce has held on to third place, going up through the first sector, trying to hold off the McLaren of Evan Main behind him. Just staying in line, staying calm. This is the first lap. You do not need to be doing too much too early. Just make sure you can get through unscathed, as that is what Hindley appears to be doing, hanging in right behind James Bowman of Kentucky as they head down towards Sector 2. Pierce still behind, looking to size up and move maybe into this left-hander. Going to stay right in the tire tracks of Bowman. You might have seen James Bowman in the Cup Series as well on Monday in the top 5 for most of that race. So you know he's a quick driver as Pierce looking to the outside, but going to just set him up, get that better racing line through all over the back bumper of this Ferrari, up into this high-speed corner, back off, again compromise the line, try to set him up outside of the corner, and he is going to stay in the tire tracks as the Mustang of Caleb Larson is closed in behind these two. As expected, Connor Burns pulled a bit of a lead. Hanley thinking about jumping to the inside, but that did not quite work out as the door was closed, and so he's going to have to remain a little bit station to station here as they wind through Sector 3.
Yeah, and you're kind of playing like a duel of two fates here, because you want to take advantage of the post-track position you have early in the race, but it's also an hour-long endurance, and survivability is key. You really just kind of want to settle in early, take advantage of the opportunities you're given by the drivers around you, settle in, save your tires, and strike slowly. But like I said, if you make it move happen early, you might as well take the opportunity and get that track position as fast as possible.
Yeah, definitely. It's always more difficult to pass as you move along, and this field tends to get strung out. You see with any kind of long road course race. As Hanley's still right up behind Bowman, you're seeing Burns start to pull out a bit of a gap, has an 0.8 of a second lead right now over second place in this group battling for second. This part of the track is some of the most difficult to follow of the entire circuit. You have these long sweeping corners where if you get in the tire tracks, the car in front of you, the dirty air can be quite hard to combat, but Hanley staying alongside Bowman right behind him pretty well here, and still Larson just lurking in the background. I feel like I'm announcing a NASCAR race. You can talk about Larson lurking behind a couple of drivers, but Hanley is still right all over the diffuser of the Ferrari in front as they head down towards this next little complex here as we focus on the battle from the off-board shot.
It is a 3-car pack. They just refuse to separate right now. Bowman, Hanley, and Larson. You kind of think that something's going to happen soon. One of these guys is going to make a move or try and set someone up, and you don't want to be driving in your mirror too much right here and force a mistake upon yourself.
Well, the mark of a good endurance racer, Keegan, is that just consistency. You can do the same lap time, lap after lap after lap, and just hang right there. And that's something that's a little bit more difficult to do with iRacing, because at the end of the day, it's not the same consequences if you make a mistake. You're not totaling a car. There's not the same financial implications. So trying to keep that same ability to stay locked in is extremely important here. As you see now, Larson's dropped off the back of these two. Is really good Sector 3 from Bowman and Hanley to keep this battle for second going, as Hanley is going to stay on the back bumper down the front straightaway.
And you mentioned consequences. That's when you got to be disciplined and got to be smart. Even though it is a computer, you are more tempted to, lunge a little bit further, make that move, drive it a little deeper. But you have to stay disciplined if you want to earn points, and that's what this is all about.
Yeah, let's take a jump a little bit further down the GT3 field and take a look at how the start of the race has gone for Nathan Roth, your other Auburn driver. Started in 8th, Roth has fallen back to 16th, but you see he's kind of found himself a nice little gap and gotten going through sector 1. I believe I did see Roth off actually at turn 1 in the first corner of the race. Had to take a little bit of evasive action off to the escape road, so that's why you see him a little bit further down right now. But again, this is his 3rd race of the season, but not the most experienced driver of anyone on this Auburn iRacing team, so still building that valuable seat time, and especially when you're further down in the field like this, just keeping an eye on everything happening around you, because Keegan, you and I both know, doing iRacing, that it can be a hornet's nest sometimes towards the back of these fields, and you just have to make sure you're staying on your marks, and no matter what happens around you, like this, as the McLaren goes wide, looking for a move toward the inside, but it's going to think better of it. I think it's a good decision up towards this corner, mostly single groove through here.
Yeah, well, especially when the car in front of you gets out of shape like that, you want to wait a little bit, make sure you handle it so you don't just drive into his wreck or trying to force a move while he's still trying to get his tires underneath him, and then you don't both end up spinning out. So I agree, smart move there.
Yeah, Delario and Voigt have been going at it in front of him for the better part of this lap. As you see, Delario is closed right back up towards this Porsche in front of him, the Penn State driver, as now we jump forward a little bit and back onto the camera here of Nathan Roth. Roth now the Mustang closing up behind him. That is Nicholas Garcia, the Colombian, trying to mark down Roth and make a move down this front stretch as they head towards turn number 1.
A little too far, not able to make a move yet.
Yeah, you're used to watching races on this track, especially with the F1 cars, where you get that advantage of DRS down the front stretch. So if you're within a certain gap, you can make that move by the end. But with these GT3 cars, it's more just consistency, building runs over and over. You see, it's been another weak corner from McLaren of Delario here, and Roth is going to try and think about a move, is going to wash out just a little bit wide, stay behind the McLaren, as it is difficult to make a move through this portion of the track. This is an okay spot if you want to try to dive down, but still not really recommended. Your best passing zones here are into turn 1 and then the start of sector 3 with that left-hand hairpin that we'll be arriving to in just a couple of moments after they crest the hill with that hard sweeping right-hander.
Yeah, we've really seen this McLaren use all the track. He's not letting any of it go to waste, and it's cost him some time in a few corners, but I mean, it seems to be working out in the long run over the course of these laps, and just ever so etching his way further from Nathan.
Jumping back up to the front of the GT3 field with Pierce Hanley here. Hanley has fallen off a little bit from James Bowman, still riding in 3rd place in class, just taking his time, trying to build into the stint, and it's, I think, for his first race of the season in this CIL Sports Cars Challenge, this is really, you cannot ask for much more. You qualify on the 2nd row of your class and just calm, let it come to you. You're not doing too much, just kind of feeling the race out. Really good spot to be right now in a podium position.
Yeah, Burns, Bowman, and Hanley have both kind of pulled away from that Mustang in 4th, and they're kind of settling in now. This is what you expect to see at this point in the race. Settle in, find a groove, kind of, get your tire management strategy underneath you, talk to your engineer, and kind of see what you want to do from here. But that 3-car little gap is a good spot for Hanley to be in.
Yeah, you can just kind of, like you said, let the race come to you. As let's jump up to the battle for 2nd place in GTP, as Thomas Crump and Wyatt Burton were both going at it towards the front end of this lap. And I saw those guys' names switch positions, as we do have a car in the pits. It is going to be Burton, and with the black flag next to his name, and then you saw the name switch places, you wonder if there was contact between these two earlier in the lap.
Yeah, I mean, almost definitely. And it just looks like just a drive-through, so maybe got off course, got over the track limits, and refused to serve his time.
As the best part about iRacing here, Keegan, is we can find out. Nice little replay feature here.
Let's see what just goes wrong. If I had to guess,
oh, that'll do it. Yep. Let's take the replay here, as we've got a spinning car in front of him, of Crump that is, and took avoiding action. I'm not quite sure why the black flag would be on Burton there.
Yeah,
unless they count that as a overtake under, maybe if there was a yellow flag in the sector at that time.
Possibly, that's the only thing I could see, unless there is Well, he still doesn't have black flag yet, so maybe he does cut the course at some point.
That side's going to update live, Keegan. So once he's served the black flag, even in replay mode, we won't be able to tell, unfortunately. But it is quite the interesting thing to try to figure out, as sometimes it can be difficult to tell. As you see, once again, as these two enter the corner, just flat out loses it behind him, and Burton tries to take evasive action. Unfortunately, despite coming clean with his car, just still was given a black flag and had to serve it. So if we hear anything about that, we will try to catch you guys up later. But jumping back to the live action here, it's still Jake Cummings leading the GTPs right now. As we head towards the end of this first 10 minutes, you see a BMW coming out of the pits. Is possibly another black flag there.
Yeah, and I know we focus mainly on the GT3s with both Auburn racers being in the GT3 class, but the GTPs, especially as they start catching this field, it'll be about who can navigate the GT3 cars the quickest and really pass them at the best opportunity. You don't want to get stuck behind one because you're just caught up to them at a bad spot. So it's going to be about navigating around these GT3 cars and who can do that the most efficiently.
Yeah, the worst spot to catch one of these guys is right on the apex or exit of a corner. If you catch them at the start, you can maybe still make a clean move in, but you sacrifice so much momentum if you catch one of these guys at the apex or trying to exit the corner. You just cannot keep that same momentum. And in a car with the speed differential that these GTPs have, I know Cummings has a fairly comfortable lead out front right now, just over 3 seconds, but still it's not something you want to sacrifice too often. He does have one more GT3 car all alone in front of him before he hits the pack in earnest, but it's definitely going to be something to monitor in these next couple of laps. Let's jump back to Pierce Hanley in the GT3 category here. As we see that Mustang going off, everything appeared to be fine, but Hanley still riding in his nice little pocket of air in third. This entire front five is really stabilized. You see your gap here. Bowman 2 seconds back from the lead, and then Hanley 7/10 further from Bowman. There aren't too many cars under a second from the car in front of him. I believe Ethan West is under a second from the portion from him, and then the Ford behind Pierce, who is behind Bowman. All three of those cars mostly within a second of each other, though you see a little bit of lost time there from Maloof through that long right-hander.
Right, and on the contrary to these GTP cars having to navigate around these cars, you also, as a GT3 driver, want to not necessarily get out of the way, but be smart about when you let these guys by and how you let them by so you don't cost yourself a huge chunk of time, especially with most of these gaps in the top five being within a second.
Yeah, it's a big part of endurance racing is knowing how to lose the least amount of time, both with traffic and then, as you mentioned, when you get those blue flags for the GTP cars behind you, as we are watching still this battle for second, third, and fourth as they've kind of stabilized with each other. We've seen it about at the same gap for a lot of this first stint, and you wonder, like we talked about before the race, how much of this is saving tires. You don't want to be too hard on your tires, okay, especially if you're Maloof in the fourth. Hey, I've got about a 1.5 second gap to Larson behind me. I just want to stay in the same window as these two guys in front of me. We can all get far enough spaced out to where we're not sacrificing a ton of time in the dirty air of the car in front of us, and we can just let this race come to us, conserve tire, do a little bit of fuel saving running through here, and just be a little calm before everything starts getting crazy later in these races.
Yeah, just focus on hitting your marks lap after lap after lap, especially in this collegiate series, because you never know when something may, you just go like, when they catch up to lap traffic, when something may go wrong in front of you, behind you. So you just want to make sure you're hitting your marks, doing what you can do to conserve tire and put yourself in the best position for later in this race.
Jump back down the field a little bit to take a look at Nathan once again, as he is still in a little bit of a GT3 pack. You see just there we were talking about with traffic letting the GTP go by on the straight, and now that might compromise the cars in front of him. If they have to go side by side through this twisty section, that could put Roth in a good position to move forward, as you find him still behind Dallaire in front of him, the Canadian in the McLaren, and then Philip Suich is a little bit further up the road in 13th. Most of this field has stabilized out at this point. You're not seeing a ton of real back and forth battling, and any side-by-side you are seeing is mostly due to these GTPs, but this field has done a pretty good job of staying out of the way so far. You see another GTP is going to be on the back of Roth here shortly, as it's still this 3.5 second gap between Cummings and Crump at the first head of this field. But going through this technical section, I do want to talk about Roth a little bit, because on Monday you saw, is the McLaren wide a bit there. It's been a trouble spot for Dallaire. Side by side through this corner is going to be difficult, and Roth has to back out. That's going to compromise him. Thankfully, that BMW not going to be able to get by, because the GTP came through at quite the opportune moment, but is McKeon gonna make a
Well,
dive into the
BMW sends it,
hairpin?
and thought better of it.
Yeah, thought better of it. Backs out again there as you see Roth still back on the back of this McLaren, but that's been a trouble spot for Dallaire today is turn 7 and 8, that little complex before you get to the heart of sector 2. It's been difficult. On the exit of 8, you've seen Dallaire slide wide as again Roth letting one of these GTPs by, and that's another spot where it's okay to do. You're not going to lose too much time as McKeon has gotten by him.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, hitting your marks. If you're Nathan here, you just want to see that the McLaren in front of you has dipped his toe in the gravel time after time in this race, so you know you can take advantage of it eventually. You don't want to use up all your tires trying to get by this one car on his mistakes. Just let him make the mistake, let the car come to you, and then you can get by him.
Yeah, is now sitting back behind the BMW. You wonder if McKeon will be able to push forward past Dallaire here through the middle sector, and if he does, would that open up the door for Roth to try to follow and improve on that move? But again, it's just a matter of being consistent. I feel like we've talked about it aptly, consistently so far, as that's a little wide there through that right-hander for Roth. Gonna have to stay on here, and this is, again, just those little mistakes over and over are going to cost you the further you get through these races, but it's good experience, and the more practice you can get, the better you're going to finish. You've seen it from Nathan so far this season, the 19th at Daytona, then followed it up with a 12th at Fuji, then qualified 8th today. So there is speed in that Corvette. Roth has shown that speed. It's just a matter of keeping the consistency, plugging away at it over and over through these longer events.
Yeah, we've mentioned dirty air. That was a good example. He just slightly missed his braking point, broke a little late, got washed up in that dirty air in the BMW in front of him, and you just saw it cause him wide and lost a huge chunk of time in the BMW.
And that's something else interesting about these GT3 cars is your aero profiles are so different on some of these machines. The BMW and the Ford look practically like battleships out there compared to the mid-engine cars like the Corvette. That's a little wide too in the gravel, but holds on to it. So if you're following one of these bigger cars, it's a little bit more difficult to manage that dirty air. It's a bigger wash coming off the back of the bigger machine, and you're just going to have to be more mindful of that, a little more careful as you see more GTP cars coming by Roth here. Just going to hold his line. That's what you need to do. Don't swerve. Don't make the GTP think about it. Just
And that's the
pass.
best place to get past on this track. You can just let the GTP's car on the straightaway, or they have the speed advantage. You don't lose any time. They don't lose any time. Perfect for both parties.
Yeah, Roth's been fortunate so far with that. He's let 2 GTPs by on the front stretch and then 1 on the back stretch between 9 and 10 here. Let's jump back up to the front of the GT3 field to take a look at Pierce again, who still finds himself behind the Kentucky driver James Bowman, though both of them have dropped Caleb Larson behind them a little bit. Hanley still hanging on to Bowman's coattails, but has closed up. Now only half a second back. You saw that at about a full second earlier. Good entry into that corner, but the GTP leader of Jake Cummings might cause some issues for these two, as that's not a great place to have to let a GTP by. It's going to compromise your entry there. Although if he can tuck in, he can probably still get a good run through there. Although it is difficult to follow these GTPs as well with all the aero wash you get off the diffuser. And then as for James Bowman, it's going to be a lot better. Like you mentioned, he can just let him by down the straightaway here. Not going to lose much time. You see that cost Hanley about half a second in that sector, having to let the GTP by when he did.
But luckily for Hanley, this won't be the only GTP car. Oh, as we mentioned, here's some more GTP classes. Also, but he had to slow up a little bit.
Yeah, I would not be happy if I was that GTP driver. That's one where you want the GT3 to let off the gas a little bit in that scenario and just let you by. And Bowman's still holding the inside, and you're going to make the GTP go the long way around. Not the most courteous traffic.
But hey, when he's in a battle for second, you're trying to keep his position as well. You can't fault him. Maybe on turn 1, maybe give him it there, let him by. But if he's trying to fight for position, you can't just let that car by you and cost your own race.
Yeah, I will say both of these guys have closed in on Connor Burns a little bit. Burns was out to as much as a 2-second lead earlier, and that's now shaved down to a single second, although you see for Hanley is now back a second too. So these front 3 cars spaced evenly a second, and they've drawn over 3 seconds on 4th place. So you have a clear top 3 in this GT3 class right now. Strategy is going to be big, tire saving is going to be big, but a battle for the lead might be brewing here.
Yeah, and you got to wonder, did he maybe dip his toe in the grass? Did he just let off a little bit, try to save some tire for later, realize he was pushing too hard? Or did he get, an opportunity to follow the GTP class?
Or you mentioned tire saving. Did he not do any tire saving? Was it just full gas from the start for Burns, and now the Ferrari of Bowman and then Hanley to a lesser extent have both closed in on him here? as maybe his tires start to go off a little soon.
Yeah, you just saw Bowman press him a little bit, realizes that he may have an opportunity here, got in the gravel a little bit, but not enough to slow him down. Lets GTP car go at a great time right here. Let's see, oh, and he'll also get by the leader here on the straightaway, no harm, no foul for anybody. But yeah, I think this battle for the lead is heating up rather quickly.
Yeah, you saw the headlight flash from the GTP, the please get out of the way sign from the much faster cars coming through. It's a huge speed difference down these straightaways. Obviously, you can see it visually, but I've been driving in these multi-class races before, Keegan, and when you're in a GTP car like that and you come up on some 2 3s on the straightaway, it feels like you're driving by parked cars sometimes.
Yeah, it feels like you're in driving school having cones you have to avoid on the road.
Can definitely be difficult. Taking a look at Pierce again here. Now 2 seconds off of second place, so it's not been the cleanest couple of laps for the Auburn drivers. He's had to deal with his own GTP traffic as well, but going through sector 2, you just got to regroup and regather yourself, try to get some more of that speed built up. He still is drawing out gap on the Ford behind him of Caleb Larson, as Larson's now 3.2 back. So this top 3 definitely still distancing himself, but Pierce has lost about a second in the last lap and a half to Bowman.
And the best thing for Pierce right here would be if Bowman can get to Burns and create a battle for the lead, maybe some side-by-side actions, some back and forth, some switchbacks. That'll allow Hanley to catch right up to them and see what he can do from there.
Yeah, just like any racing series, if the cars in front of you are battling, it's going to slow them down so much, it's going to bring him right to him. So I definitely agree with you. That's what you're going to watch for right now as we take a look at the Porsche of Arpad Kovac back here behind the Mercedes of Evan West. Further down the GT3 category is Kovac is moving forward, looking for a move on West. That Mercedes looks to be just out of touching distance for the Porsche right now, but this Porsche should be a little bit better through your middle sector. It's a little bit more darty, it's a little bit better in traction zones, but the power under the hood of this Mercedes is exceptional. So the draft obviously is going to help Kovac out a little bit with that, trying to close in, but it's going to be difficult to get by this Mercedes.
Yeah, especially if you don't get to him by the end of the lap, when you get that straightaway, the power of the Mercedes is just going to, I mean, as you see it here, he's just going to ink out a little bit, and you can crawl back to this first sector and the second sector, try to get as close as possible and really make that draft super effective coming to the front stretch.
Yeah, this is your closest battle on track right now. It's only about half a second to separate these two, battling for 7th place in the GT3 category right now, as we have completed just over 20 minutes, so just over a third of the way done here in our CIL sports car event at Barcelona today, your Spanish sprint, as they're calling it. And this battle, I think, is very entertaining, like you mentioned, because of the difference between these cars. Through this middle sector, you're going to see the Porsche close, and this spot right here, coming through these two corners, we've seen it be a trouble spot for a lot of drivers today, running a little wide like that. Maybe you catch the front of the sausage curb, maybe you dip a tire in the gravel. If you overshoot 7, it's going to hurt you so much for 8, which then hurts you for 9, and you cannot set up the pass down into this hairpin of turn 10, which is probably your second best passing zone of the day after obviously turn 1.
Yeah, and are you shocked at all by how clean this race has been so far? Obviously, a few spins on lap 1, turn 1, but other than that, I mean, really, it's been smooth sailing for everybody. Everyone just settled in. No, not really any close battles anywhere. This is the closest we have with 7/10 of a second. But everyone's kind of just, hitting their marks, running their race right now.
Yeah, as we take another look at Pierce up here in third, I wouldn't say I'm overly shocked, because as much as people might get an image in their head when you say iRacing or any kind of virtual racing, it's like, oh no, it's going to be carnage. There's a reason these guys are on their collegiate teams. These are fast drivers for the most part. A lot of the time they're clean drivers. We saw a couple issues in Cup Series on Monday with some people deciding they didn't want to enter pit road at the last second and turning into a human missile. But other than that, it's fairly clean racing between all these guys. As you said, we've seen a couple single car spins, but mostly clean racing is now some lap traffic here that Hanley's going to have to work his way by of the Mercedes. But he's closed back in up on James Bowman, brought it back down to 1.8, and you've seen Bowman drop off the back of Burns once again. So that Ferrari's definitely yo-yoing a bit right now, as the gaps between Burns and Hanley have stayed pretty similar overall, and it's just what Bowman's doing at the moment, whether he's flying forward or falling back. You've seen a little bit of that kind of back and forth momentum of this Ferrari as this first stint has gone on.
And you got to wonder how impatient he got when he got within a second of Burns a few laps ago, and how much tire he shredded just thinking that was his time to make a move. Now maybe he didn't. Maybe he played really smart and still conserved, but if he starts to fall back here, you can probably get a guess that he pushed a little too hard, thinking it was his time to make his move.
Yeah, and you see him moving back forward again here now. So maybe just a case of back off, recool your stuff, get some more grip back in your tires and fire again, as he's taken almost half a second out of Burns over the last 2/3 of this lap and pulled out another gap on Hanley, as that's back up to 2 seconds. But these front three still absolutely separated. Larson is a further 3.6, still back from Hanley right now.
Yeah, and I know there's over a second now between all three of these cars, but I have a very strong feeling that when we get down to maybe 5 to 8 minutes left of the race, there will be less than half a second between all three of these cars, and it'll be very entertaining.
Well, as we head towards the midway point in this race, obviously we're going to have to start thinking about strategy. But before we do that, let's look at the front of the GTP field right now, because we have a new leader in Thomas Crump up at the front in his BMW. He has gotten by Jake Cummings, and that was a lead that was as much as 4 seconds earlier. So that's some good driving from Crump. I don't know if Cummings maybe caught a GT3 in a bad spot or had a moment going off the track, but it's clear Crump looks faster right now than Cummings. You can see on the battle box in the bottom corner of your screen as we take a little bit of a look at replay mode here for your battle for the lead. Here you can see the move for the lead, as yes, it was off the track from Jake Cummings on the outside of turn 4 as you watch the Converse driver.
A slow GT3 car in the middle of the track had to take an evasive move. Ooh, tough break.
That's frankly awful driving etiquette from the GT3, because you can tell based on his trajectory when we get to the GT3 here, he was on that inner portion where the curb was and he just hangs a left. Yeah. That is inexcusable driving as GT3 traffic, and that took away an absolutely huge lead for Jake Cummings. Yeah, let's look at it from the onboard here, and I mean, what's wrong with this picture, Keegan?
Well, you have a car in the middle of the track.
Oh, he's spun. It's the unsafe rejoin from the Porsche. You can see him through forward and just decides, I'm coming back on the track now, doesn't take any account for where the GTP is, and then Cummings, unsure of which way the Porsche was going, whether he's coming on or staying in that outside line, just has to fly off and take evasive action. And then, obviously, you have dirty tires from that point too, so Crump gets by him, and then Cummings having to clean the gravel off of his tires. That is going to make the Converse driver and GTP points leader none too happy. As we jump back to live, you see him just over a second back from Crump now, and then another fairly similar gap to Ocasio back in third. You can just see at the end of your picture in the frame, but Crump with a solid lead now, up to about a second and a half, as again, we head towards the midpoint of this race, and strategy will be big. Do you want to try to go for the undercut, get some fresher tires quicker? Do you want to stay out a little bit longer? Maybe see if you have clean track around you, what you can do with that as this GTP portion of the field continues to cut through these GT3s as they move up the bottom part of the field.
I'm interested to see, especially with Connor Burns, who's commander of the GT3 class, what does he think his strategy should be? Does he think he conserved enough tire? Or when he got that lead out in front, does he think maybe, all right, let's pit a little sooner, get some fresh tires, and just put a bigger gap on the cars behind me? But if you're in a position, I think you run it as long as you can. Let the cars behind you kind of make your decision for you, unless obviously you know and you can feel your tires just coming out from underneath you.
See, I like to, if I'm in the lead at this point, what I would be doing is saying, hey, what do I feel like is the best lap for me? Just don't even consider the decisions of the other cars, because his pace advantage has been extremely strong. You look, it's now a 2.6 second gap to Bowman. He's pulled out a second and a half in the last 3 laps as Connor Burns. So you know you have that pace in the locker if you need it. Just run to your target lap time through all your stint data and your simulations that you've accumulated up to this point. You know about what the best lap is going to be to pit on your end. So if I have the kind of pace that Burns does right now, I'm just going to my target lap, and the people around me, they're going to do what they're going to do.
Well, if we are expecting an undercut, it'll probably be either this lap or very soon in the upcoming laps from whoever is bold enough to try the undercut and see if it works, and you know there will be some.
Well, you and I, Keegan, both growing up as NASCAR fans, very familiar with that short pitting strategy of let's get new tires and really go full throttle through the back half of the race. I remember when I was younger watching Jimmy Johnson use that to perfection at Atlanta to beat Kevin Harvick one year. And even though it's a different discipline with road course racing as opposed to oval racing for NASCAR, that undercut is still such a big advantage. if you can come out into a place where there's not traffic. And that's something you have to take account of too. You see that little pod of GT3 cars that currently is working its way down the backstretch right now as we take a look at Nathan Roth letting some more GTP traffic by, as that is second and third of Ocasio and Cummings going by the Corvette. It's just a matter of making sure also when you pit, you come out cleanly and you're not sacrificing time pitting yourself back into the gaggle of the cars.
Right, like you see in front of Nathan right here. Look at that. I mean, that's just a mess. Looks like it's sorted out so far, but there was a minute where they were kind of 2x2 for a little bit, almost pack racing.
Yeah, GTP's managed to get through that cleanly, and Nathan's still behind that BMW you've seen him behind for a lot of the middle third of this race to this point. But again, he's found himself a nice little gap that he's running in, and I think you absolutely take that if you're the Auburn driver. Again, he's 15th in points right now, so bring home a 14th place finish in class. That would keep you right about where you are in the point standings, which I think is a solid enough day.
And Pierce has now worked his way back up to half a second behind Bowman. Let's see if we can ride on board with him. Here we go.
I can tell you why he's worked his way back up to just under a second. Is this Acura, I bet, was in the way of James Bowman and is now in the way of Pierce Hanley. You see checking him up through this long sweeping right-hander down into turn 5. Good job by the Acura getting out of the way there. That's some better driving etiquette as Pierce sweeps around the outside, able to use his racing line, stabilizing at about a second up to Bowman, but goodness, Connor Burns continues to check out now. 3.5 the gap over James Bowman. He's put another almost full second in over the past 2 laps.
Yeah, I think his strategy is clear from here. Run full throttle until these tires give up and just go get more so you can run more full throttle laps.
Yeah, of course, you never know what the strategy is coming in, if the goal is to split this thing down the middle or wait a little bit longer and just try to really push towards the end on extremely fresh tires. Based on what we're seeing so far, I've seen less people cut this directly in half than I was necessarily expecting going in, but obviously I'm a commentator, Keegan, not a race engineer, so we get to find this out together on the fly of who's going to pit when. Although, there we see, first stop from one of your leaders, it's James Bowman in the Ferrari into the pits. That's going to give Pierce some clean air, and if you're Bowman, this has to be a move. Okay, my tires have gone off a cliff in the last few laps. I need to try to do anything to get me up closer to Burns here.
Yeah, it'll answer all of our questions about the undercut and how effective it'll be. And maybe, just maybe, this will force some hands of cars around him, especially if it's successful. Comes out and gains 2 laps a second on either Burns or Hanley. I think you'll see Hanley follow suit, to be honest, with this 5.2 second lead that Burns has pulled out. I mean, you're not going to catch him on pace at this point.
Yeah, I definitely want to keep an eye on Bowman as he exits the pits here, see what he comes out in traffic-wise, and see how that will affect him moving forward as we look for the Kentucky driver exiting the pits. Here he comes. He's going to have, it looks like, clean track if he'll get out cleanly in front of those guys behind him. So good pit calls from the Kentucky race engineers getting him out cleanly. And now let's follow along with him for this lap because it's going to be cold tires, it's going to be less grip, and we'll see what kind of pace the Kentucky driver has on these fresh tires at the next couple of laps.
Yeah, I mean, what a perfect scenario. I mean, wide open track in front and behind him, has time to warm up the tires and can just get after it and put down some lap times, really put this undercut to work. Good use and see, ooh, and there's a car into the gravel, not in his way. He will be fine. But yeah, I'm excited to see how the undercut works and see if it forces the hands of the cars around him.
You see Pierce still working on his own through this third sector. Are we going to see the Auburn driver into the pits this time to cover that off from Bowman?
We will not.
Not at this moment. So we definitely have split strategies now. James Bowman on his own back in the pack in P10 right now, and he was putting in good lap times when we saw the sectors. Yeah, look at that. 1.2 seconds up on the first sector, 1 second up on the second sector on Nate Smith, the car in front of him. Is going to have to let a couple GTPs by here, but still, he has some decent pace, does Bowman at this point.
The battle for the lead of the GTP class is heating up as well.
Yeah, Ocasio moving on towards the back of Thomas Hump right now. You see it's only half a second between your top 2 GTPs. Oh, that Porsche is going to make it difficult for Ocasio. That's not where you want to catch him through turns 1 and 2. And you see that opens up Hump's lead out to 0.8 from 0.5 seconds. So 0.3 just like that is now the back of your GTP field is pitting right now. Adam will be into the pits, but still this battle for the lead. You said it was heating up, but this GT3 traffic just at an inopportune time for your second place driver. Is it going to happen again here? It might with the Mustang, but that corner's so slow that it almost doesn't affect you as much mid-corner, just the exits. As you see now here, the speed difference between your classes as
another just the conversation. And if you look at our track map, this is the heaviest traffic area on the field right now. Lots of GTP cars, lots of GT3 cars you have to work around. Who can get by them cleaner?
Yeah, Jake Cummings is trying to make his way back towards the front. We saw the incident with the Porsche GT3 earlier. Oh, wow, that's a braking zone and a half from Ocasio. I don't know if Crump was a bit uncomfortable getting into there, but that was about a 3/10 gain in the braking zone alone for Ocasio. He is all over the back of your overall leader right now, and you got to be watching for pit stops of these two. We've seen the last two cars this GTP field pit, so when do your top three come in? As you see McLaren peel in right there, they're all going to stay out. Jake Cummings still trying to close in on this front duo, but your top three right now covered by just a second and a half as we go past the midpoint now. 25 and a half minutes remaining. Still waiting on pit stops from the front of your GT3 field as well, so a lot of these guys leaving it out a bit longer. Still Ocasio trying to close through sector one.
And don't count on Cummings either. These guys get side by side. It looks like Cummings made through traffic way smoother than these two guys did, and he's right there ready to pounce if anything are to go wrong between these two battles.
Yeah, I would be willing to bet that Cummings is the fastest because we saw him lead. We saw him open up a big lead to start this one. You wonder if there's any kind of damage maybe on that car from the trip off the grass, off into the grass to avoid the Porsche, but you see him right there. He's in your shot now. You have all three of your top three covered by 1.3 into the middle sector. That's an awkward place to catch a Mercedes. You see your leader stuck behind the AMG as Cummings works his way back up towards each of them at the front. Yeah, that's going to be difficult, hanging around the outside of this long turn. Oh, that's a bit of oversteer from Cummings off that corner. Crump down towards the braking zone. Does he have to defend? He does not, but you can tell Ocasio has just a little bit more pace into turn 10 today than Crump in front of him. He keeps catching him there every lap.
What Ocasio is doing is he's forcing Crump to drive in his mirror, as you can see here. He gets a little bit understeer underneath the wash of the car in front of him, airtight, but he's causing Crump to drive out of his mirror extra hard right here. Maybe forces a mistake, maybe not. We'll see how perfect Crump can hang on to this car and hit his marks. He does have the lead. All he has to do is just keep running his race.
Connor Burns into the pit here. That's going to send Pierce Hanley to the lead of the GT3 category right now. As you see Pierce on your screen as the battle for the overall lead passes him by. Does he stay out of the way cleanly? He does. Goes back to the apex there. It's going to cost Cummings a little bit, but still Pierce just holding his line. That's really what you're asked to do as a GT3 driver if you meet in the middle of a corner, is just stay calm, hold your line, get out of the way the soonest opportunities. You saw him do right there. But this is your current class leader of Pierce Hanley. You see Connor Burns is back in 6th right now. James Bowman back in 9th. So there still is a bit of a gap between Burns and Bowman.
And if Hanley doesn't come in this time, you got to think, maybe he's just going to play the long game, run it long, come in at the end, get some fresher tires, be on the most fresh tires when this thing ends, and just, full throttle to the end and see what he can do. But how much does he conserve on these tires? Very curious to see when he plans to come in.
Well, even if he has conserved well on these tires, which based on his pace right now and the fact that he hasn't pitted yet, I would expect is the case. Even with that, how much more pace is he going to have down the stretch once we get to 10 or 5 minutes to go left in this event, as he's looking to run the full first 2/3 of this race on this first set of tires? As we've seen a little bit further down your GT3 field right now, your early hitters have not had a lot of success. We look at James Bowman, who is still over 7 seconds back from Nate Smith in the Porsche. So we've not seen the kind of outrageous benefits from an undercut of that amount that you would maybe expect. So we'll have to watch Connor Burns too as he tries to work his way back through. Let's take a look at Burns now. Under a second behind Andrew Gross, the BMW in front of him in that battle for 6th. You see Burns working his way through. He is on fresh tires. He's the first GT3 on fresh tires right now. So this will be a good gauge for what the real potential can be, as still on a little bit of a cold tire set coming out and trying to line up a move on this BMW. But it's been extremely interesting to watch, as I expected, Keegan, honestly, for it to be more of a difference on fresh tires.
Yeah, me as well. Meanwhile, we've had a position change. New leader, Ocasio now leads this entire field. Just got past Crump, And ooh, a 3-car battle here for the lead, heating up. Cummins is still in third, but I don't expect him to be there very much longer, to be honest with you. We've just seen him inch and inch and inch closer to these cars, ready to pounce.
Yeah, watching to this corner, this is where Crump has been weak for most of the day. And you're going to see closing rate again there. You see Crump is losing time into that corner every single... Oh, Ocasio spinning in front of these two. That was from the lead of GTP. The BMW goes off at turn 10. You got to think that's just on the power too early and looped it to the outside. Let's take another look at the BMW through turn 10. Yeah, just tried to get back on it too early and looped it out of the corner. That's going to be brutal from the lead for Jonathan Ocasio.
Just as unexpected. If you're one of the cars and you just saw that happen, you're probably thinking, I should probably get tires right now, both into the pits, just like I expected after watching it spin like that. Didn't waste any time trying to get new tires.
Yeah, Crump and Cummings both pit, leaving Ocasio out there on his, you got to be imagining, slightly flat-spotted tires.
Yeah, I'm not sure
why
he didn't pit there, to be honest with you.
Maybe just you want to get in, recollect your head, get an actual clean lap before bringing it into the pits, give yourself some time to find a little bit of a rhythm again. But that is going to be absolutely brutal for Ocasio, as Hanley is still out leading this GT3 field and hanging on to these tires as we hit the 20-minute mark. As let's take a look at the battle for second back in GTP as Crump and Cummings both get out of the pits now. They're heading through Sector 1 up through turn 3. Good time in the pits from Thomas Crump. You saw that. That's a much bigger gap than he had heading into the pits. So it'll be difficult for Cummings to close this up quickly. And with these extremely powerful and aerodynamically complex cars, it can be harder sometimes to work some temp into your tires because there's a little bit less of a forgiving platform as you have with the GT3. So if you try to put too much heat into these tires too early, they'll get shocked and this car will spit you right out.
Right, if you're coming here, you want to be smart but aggressive. You know you have the track position right now. You don't want to let him get too far away. You don't want to bend at the same time. But we've seen the speed out of him today. I think he's going to play this well. I don't think he lets Crump get away. I think if Crump starts to slip away, you'll see him use a little bit more tire here with only 19 minutes left in this race, and maybe try and keep him at striking distance.
Well, we've seen Cummings be able to close up to the front twice of this GTP field. So like you mentioned, I think he's confident in his pace. He feels like if he has to press later, he can. So maybe it's not too bad if Ocasio gets out to maybe a second and a half here at the start of the stint because he knows he can pull and back in later. But we're going to keep following this battle as we head towards the end of the lap as Ocasio has still stayed out. He has not pitted yet. That's surprising. Oh, now he's pit. He is in the pit now. And just as I said, Jonathan Ocasio is going to give up the lead of this race, and you see Crump and Cummings hurtle down towards turn 1. Let's follow along and see where Ocasio comes out. He is going to be in third, as expected. The other two pass him by, but by how much will it be? As he has to stay inside that pit exit line, going to come out through turns 1 and 2, is into a mess of traffic. Are the GTP leaders? Yep. My goodness, this will help out Ocasio.
Yeah, looking back at our track map, Crump and Cummings both are in the midst of some GT3 traffic right now.
They got through that quick. I'm impressed. That was a bit of a mess, and they've sliced through it cleanly in just about 2 corners.
Well, so far, we'll see how they deal with these 2 to 3 GT3 cars in front of them and who can do them. But Cummings, I had to get air time. I had to slow down for the Mustang in front of them. That allowed Cummings to catch right back up. This may be tricky.
Yeah, they're both going to clear the Mustang on the way in here. Oh, is he going to think about a move? That would have been a bit audacious, but again, not really the full room to open up the racing line with the Mustang right there. So maybe just a bit of an awkward line, as that's not a good place to catch a GT3 for Crump. You saw him catch him right in the middle of that high-speed corner, and now the Mercedes is going to go back to the racing line, and Cummings is going to get through heading into the hairpin here. These two are still right all over each other.
Yeah, neck and neck. Mostly out of the GT3 traffic right now. You see the Corvette in front of them, but I don't expect, or Ferrari, my bad. But I don't expect him to slow them down very much at all. Yeah, they'll both get to him at an opportune time to pass him, just go right around him. And, he dives to the pits anyway, so that takes care of that.
I will tell you, Keegan, I am waiting to see what the strategy is for Pierce in this Aston Martin at the front of the GT3 class, because we've seen that new tires are not everything so far. Like, James Bowman is still down in 8th, and Connor Burns is still in 6th. Burns is still stuck behind the BMW of Andrew Cross, so if it's that hard to pass, even on new tires, Pierce and the Auburn engineers might have played an absolute blinder here, staying out for the overcut.
Yeah, they may have nailed it.
You see Bowman lost time further back down this order, and following along with Connor Burns now. Burns is in third. You see still a 28-second gap from Burns up to Hanley, and that has gone up from where it was. So you wonder if there was some big traffic that the ETSU driver had to deal with. You see him currently ahead of 2 GTPs and not really close behind another one. So I'm not sure if that was lap GT3 traffic that he passed, as you see some cars behind him, or maybe just trying to make a pass in general. But he is still behind Evan West. So we check back to the front with Pierce, who is still leading this comfortably, and he will be one of the last cars in this GT3 field to pit. You see Burns and Bowman have cycled back to third and fourth, as a little bit more of those guys that were running in those positions before have hit pit road. Is Pierce going to be in this time? Yes, he is. Pierce Hanley on the pit road in the Auburn Aston Martin here. We got to follow this and see where he comes out.
Yeah, we'll stay with Pierce and see where he comes out, see if he can. I expect him to be right behind Connor Burns on the tail. I think Connor Burns will get past him on the straight right here, but it'll be close coming out of the pits. We have to wait and see.
Yeah, let's take a look at Burns, see where he is on this track so we can get a good gauge of how Pierce is going to come out. Looking for that Lamborghini now as you see him around the final corner. This is going to be tight. You'll probably be able to see Hanley on this pit exit maybe. Let's take a look to the side. Is there an Aston Martin in camera shot? There is. You can just see him exiting the pit there. So he's going to be behind Connor Burns, but he is going to be ahead of James Bowman, is Pierce Hanley. So that is a blinder from the Auburn strategy crew. Seeing the effects of some of these other cars in lap traffic, they get caught up in incidents, they lose time. Let your driver work, and they absolutely have. It's paid off big time. Pierce Hanley up into second place in just 3.3 seconds to chase down on Burns, and he has fresher tires to do it with.
Yeah, 5-lap fresher tires, less than 14 minutes remaining in this race. Once these tires get warm, there's no point saving, just go get them.
Absolutely, it has to be pedal down to the floor, going after that Lamborghini out in front. Again, this is Pierce Hanley's first race of CIL sports cars this season, but it has not taken him long to get back into the groove of things. You see him closing on lap traffic in front of him here. It's been a great drive.
Yeah, let's take a look at our other Auburn driver, Nathan Roth, see what he's up to in that Corvette. Right now he's letting a GTP car by, another GTP car by, running in 14th right now.
He's stabilized in this position. We've seen him behind the BMW of McKeon for most of this race now, since about the 45-minute mark, but that consistency is key. Even though he hasn't been slicing through the field, he hasn't been falling back or having incidents either. So just clean driving, that is something you do value and like to see, as even though it is only 14th place, like you mentioned, 15th in points. So he's running about where he is in the standings, and that kind of performance is going to keep you static and clean.
Yeah, just keep running consistent races, race after race, get better and better each time, and eventually by the end of the season, you'll find yourself climbing aboard the top of the leaderboard. It's all about consistency. If you come out and finish first, run second, third for 2 races, and DNF the rest, it doesn't really matter when the season ends. But if you can run consistent lap times, you'll find yourself in a good spot.
Yeah, taking a look at James Bowman now in third in GT3s, you see he is 7 seconds behind Pierce Hanley. And remember, when Bowman pitted, he was about a second in front of the Auburn driver. So it's been a disastrous second stint for the Kentucky driver in that Ferrari 299. But for Hanley, he's closing in under 3 seconds now. It is only 2.8 to the front driver of Connor Burns. And you've taken off about 3-4 tenths a lap. You see if you close up, as now he has given some of that time back out to 3 seconds. But even so, a second place on season debut would be a performance that he could definitely be happy with, especially if it came to a guy who's won everything there is to win so far in the season in Connor Burns.
Yeah, and if you're his race engineer, you just in his ear telling him right now, hey, I know the race is coming to a close. We're good. Stay calm. Don't push it too far right now. Just let the race come to you. You have the fresher tires. Use them. Let him make a mistake. Just keep crawling, lap after lap. You can't pass him in 1 lap right now. You have 3 seconds. It's going to take multiple perfect laps to get to him and pass him at this point.
Yeah, we got a good battle in the top 5 of GT3 right now. Let's take a look at the battle for 4th between the Ferrari and the McLaren as we jump back in the field a little bit. You see Evan in the McLaren trying to close up to this Ferrari that's right in front of him. Both of these guys have been fairly close for a couple laps now, Beasley and then Main. These two heading onto the front stretch now. That McLaren is half a second behind and has been there for about a lap at this point. So you got to wonder if there's a move maybe coming here. They'll be good slipstream down this front stretch. You see the Ferrari trying to break the toe, moving to the inside, but Main is going to stay right in that slipstream, try to come back out to the racing line, see if he can make something happen into the corner. Ferrari kind of stays in the middle there, and it's going to wash him wide through turn 2 and 3 as we go up through here. The McLaren trying to find some space to get by Beasley in that Ferrari, but this is a difficult part of the track to pass, Keegan. You really just want to stay close through the end of sector 1, through the start of sector 2, and see if you can be right there to make the move into 10 as we move through this lap.
Yeah, what you're trying to do there is just set him up. Have him looking in his mirror, set him up, maybe get him washed wide a little bit in that little sweeping section, but you really just want to stay on his bumper and put him in your mind that, hey, I'm here, my bumper's your bumper, I'm ready to make a move as soon as you want me to.
As we near the 10-minute mark remaining in this race, again, Spanish sprint here today, Cil Sportscar action. For those of you not familiar, the Cil is a racing league between drivers of different colleges around the country. There's Cup Series, there's Formula, and events like tonight in sports cars. Now we take a look at Evan Main closing in on the Ferrari in 4th. Is there going to be a move into the hairpin? He's around the outside. Are we going to see the switchback from the McLaren? He's thinking about it, cannot quite get the run off.
Yeah, he thought about it. That was good defense by the Ferrari. He's really putting his car right where the McLaren doesn't want it to be, playing good defense, not too aggressive, just like I mentioned, putting his car where it needs to be to kind of, maybe a little bit of run from the McLaren off the corner, but not an ideal passing zone. We'll see what he can do with the toe.
It's going to be tough to defend here. You're so close in the back here with the slipstream. You got to think the McLaren's at least going to have a chance into 1 as for a moment it disappears, shout out latency, but the McLaren to the outside, heading down towards turn 1, going to try to make a move. Can he outbrake Beasley into the corner? He's going to be around the outside, but it's going to give him the inside for a turn 2. He's going to hang it out around there. That is a great move from Evan Main in the McLaren as he moves up into 4th. Again, the front 3 guys have kind of been in their own league today in GT3, even with Bowman losing time. He's still 7 seconds ahead of this duo as Beasley's going to try to fight back around the outside.
Yeah, this battle's far from over right here. McLaren has the inside, uses the inside to his advantage in this, and just very clear. You get past him, be in a better position. The Ferrari's going to try to stick it around the outside, maybe try the crossover.
Maybe. Going to be nothing doing there as he's going to get a great run. Though, a little bit of oversteer from McLaren out of the corner. He's going to have to defend the inside here. Ferrari around the outside. That's going to be a completed pass. McLaren looked to have it covered heading out of that corner, but again, just a little bit of oversteer as he tried to apply the throttle, and it let Beasley get right back through. Although we saw Main have a decent shot into the hairpin last lap. He's even closer this time. Beasley's going to force him to the outside again, it looks. So are we going to see another attempt at the switchback from Main, trying to cut in? And again, just not quite enough traction. That McLaren appears to be struggling a lot out of the exits of these corners. You see Beasley still able to defend out front. They're trying to stay close in the back as the McLaren, as those two are still going to be right on each other. As we've lost the McLaren, sadly. Pierce jumping back out to look at Pierce in 2nd. Trailing Connor Burns by 3 seconds at the moment.
Yeah, not much movement, a lot of static right here. Pierce staying just around those 3 seconds behind Burns here. We'll see if he can maybe push, maybe get a little bit, but it looks like Burns has this one all wrapped up, barring a huge mistake.
Yeah, James Bowman has pulled out a little bit of time, though. He took a second out of Hanley on that last lap, even though the gap between Pierce and Burns at the front stayed about the same. So it was a good last lap from the driver of the Ferrari. Are we going to see a late run from James Bowman with 7.5 minutes back and 5.7 seconds behind? That's going to be an extremely tall task, and I have my doubts about whether he can get back up there, but it is absolutely going to be a fight. And speaking of fights, let's take a look at the front of the GTP field once again as your overall leaders are going after it. Ocasio is trying to close back in on Jake Cummings. He's 0.3 back, and this gap has stabilized at about a second between Cummings and Crump. We've seen it hanging around there as the Converse driver cannot quite get enough momentum to go after that leading BMW as he's splitting the 2 BMWs right now, trying to make something happen here. But these 3 appear to be in pretty much lockstep right now as each one tries to find a little bit of a move on the other.
Yeah, I mean, this is right where they're running before they pit, and here we are. You saw Ocasio go wide, and spun it off one of the turns, got some new tires. He's on the most fresh tires out of this group right here, running into some lap traffic. Oh, and he's compromises his line a little bit, will allow Crump to pull off a little bit, but like we said, that's part of this endurance racing, what makes it so special with these GTP cars. And I think they're just going to stick around a second apart from each other, settle in a little bit. But
yeah, it's closed it down to half a second now as you follow through this final couple corners. That Mustang in front, that's not going to be a great place to catch us. That's going to bring Cummings right towards Crump down this front straightaway. Are we going to see the slipstream from this Cadillac in second place? That's going to hurt Crump down the front stretch. Is Cummings going to have something to do with him? Thinking about it, it's going to stay in line right here as they catch more GT3 traffic. Heading to this first two corners, that was a shallow entry from Crump. Is that going to help out Cummings? They are all over each other right now. Are we going to see three wide? We are not. That Mustang is going to stay down on the inside as all three of your overall leaders are right together. Oh, that's a mess with the McLaren.
And they ran
contact. Ocasio and Cummings with contact for a second. Put the Ferraris around.
Oh.
Beasley sent off the track as that Ferrari, which had been battling for fourth place in GT3, is sent off the track. That is a mess. That is what you get with this multi-class racing sometimes, as those are the kind of things that are going to happen when you get multiple classes fighting for a position at the same time. Jake Cummings has been given a black flag for that incident, so we'll see the Cadillac making a drive-through at the end of this lap probably, but it's now the leading BMW duo out front. But let's rewind and take a look at that again, that incident up in turn number 4.
yeah, we were just on board a few laps ago with that Ferrari-McLaren battle, and here we are, the GTPs just ran into that battle. You can see the McLaren goes to make a move on the Ferrari, doesn't even look in his mirror and realize the GTP cars are there, and just, kind of gets in the way, and they all have to wash wide and try to avoid the wreck.
Yeah, I know it's the GT3 driver's duty to get out of the way, but if you watch Cummings here, if we can rewind this a little bit more to take a look at the middle of the last corner, watch Cummings right here. This purple car, the Converse College car, number 95, you see Jake Cummings is in the front of your screen right now. You can see his rear wing. Watch him right here. You see the McLaren's out wide. He's on his own line. Cummings swerves back across, makes contact with Ocasio, and then keeps his foot in and plows through the rear quarter of the Ferrari. You see him lock up right there. I don't think that's on the GT3. I think that's Cummings desperate not to lose a spot, trying to go for the lead in that moment, and just, it's too greedy in that spot. There's moments where you have to stay double wide. This is not a track where you can force a 3-wide move like that, and you can't expect the GT3 in front of you to just drive out on the marbles and into the grass.
Well, you can see when he thought about making this move right here, he goes to the outside. Now McLaren goes out wide with him, so then he thought better of it, and at that point, you just got to give it up. You can't, he wanted to go around the outside. Saw the McLaren also wanted to go around the outside. McLaren did see the GTP in his mirror and adjusted, but with, you don't know what the other driver's thinking. He just saw the McLaren go wide and was like, oh, can't go that way. That door is closed when it was still open, and just an aggressive mistake. But yeah, it's definitely gonna cost his race for today.
Yeah, that means you will see a first-time winner of this season at the front of the GTP field, barring a miracle from Jake Cummings, that he still has that penalty left to serve with the black flag, as Crump and Ocasio both without wins in the GTP field, I believe, so far this season. Or no, excuse me, Crump does have a win early in the season, does the Clemson driver. So if Ocasio can get through, it would be his first win of the season, but Crump of Clemson University does have a win already for the GTPs. You see him go by Pierce Hanley there. Let's check back in with Pierce, still running second in GT3, is giving up time to the Ferrari of James Bowman, only 5.2 seconds out ahead. Now that's close with Jake Cummings once again for Pierce, and he's going to have to let the GTP by, which he does. But you've seen it for Hanley. He has decent pace today, but no one's really had anything for Connor Burns for most of the evening here in Catalunya.
No, even with Pierce on fresher tires, Burns has just inked out that gap to 4.5 seconds with 2 minutes left to go in this race. I mean, it's all but over for this. I mean, he's dominated the series standings. He dominated all day today. We saw it in the practice. We saw it in qualifying. Started on pole. Just no one has anything for Connor Burns today.
Yeah, as we head towards these final couple of minutes, 2 minutes remaining here in Barcelona as we ride on board with Connor Burns here to give you an idea of what it is like to be this fast at iRacing, because neither Keegan nor I would know as we get out of the way here of another GTP of Jonathan Ocasio making his way through. Those two guys are still going to be battling for the lead up front in Ocasio and Crump. As you see, Jake Cummings still hanging around there with the black flag, still waiting to serve that penalty. You got to imagine that has to happen sometime soon here, lest you risk getting even further penalized and maybe getting some sort of EOL for the start of next race or a severe time penalty. We'll see how that's officiated as he stays out once again. So
once again.
Crump and Ocasio are separated by 1.4 seconds at the front of the field. That's about your closest on-track battle right now as well. So sticking with this front two of GTP as we move on a little bit further, we'll take a look at how these two try to close in on each other. That BMW is in a bit of a tough spot as we move towards the end. And as we get towards the end, we're going to take a quick break from this GTP battle. Let's go back and check on Nathan Roth, your other Auburn driver today. We haven't heard from Roth in a little while. As you see him down the field a little bit, he has gained a position. He got past David McKeon. Based on where McKeon is on track now, I assume the BMW had some off-track moment or difficulty at some point, as he is with that gaggle of GTP cars right now that's just making its way down into turn 6 and 7. But Roth is hanging around in 13th. It is a bit further down than where he started in 8th, but he's kept it clean, and he's looking forward to make a move on Philip Suich right now. It's been a good second stint for Roth. He's had more pace in this stint than the first stint, trying to size up the Aston Martin right now as we head down toward the final 30 seconds of this race.
Yeah, maybe he probably learned a little bit about saving his tire in the first half. Maybe pushed a little bit too hard. It was one of the earlier cars to pit in this GT3 class. Maybe came back out and learned, okay, maybe I can't push so hard so early. Lay it back a little bit and then just, save some more tire, go get some positions at the end, which is where we are. Can he make a move? That'll be coming. He'll have 2 laps to go when he crosses this line.
It'll be white flag for your GTP leaders as let's jump to that battle. It's only half a second separated at the overall lead between Crump and Ocasio, as Crump is going to cross the line and win this one. His time has expired before they got back to the line. That'll be the second win of the year for Thomas Crump. Jonathan Ocasio, 0.7 of a second down. Jake Cummings, 1.1, finishes even with that black flag. As it'll be Wyatt Burton in 4th and Wilby in 5th. Here comes Pierce Hanley over the line. He's going to take a strong P2 for Auburn iRacing, as just no one had anything for Connor Burns today. So to come home second is still a very impressive finish. It's the last lap for Nathan Roth. Let's see if Roth can get Suich on this last lap here. He's going to have 2 sectors to do it. What does the Auburn driver have for the Aston Martin in front of him? Down into 7-8. We've seen this be a trouble spot all day. Is the Aston Martin going to get through cleanly? It is. Roth up the hill to this long right-hander. I'm going to follow him through here. This is a difficult place to make a move, but if you can get a good run out, this is a passing zone into turn 10. Looks like he's going to be a little bit too far back as we head down towards the hairpin, and at this point, it's going to be difficult to make a pass. There are not too many great passing zones left, so just focus on bringing it home cleanly through this final sector, as the Aston Martin is still just over half a second out in front of Roth here. And into the final 2 corners, Roth into the gravel a bit, saves it. That could have been disastrous, but he holds on to it. Down through the final 2 corners, Suich through the final. Roth not quite going to be able to catch him, but he still comes home in a respectable 13th. So your Auburn drivers today, Pierce Hanley finishes 2nd. Nathan Roth comes home 13th. Your overall winner, Thomas Crump. Your GT3 winner, Connor Burns. But let's hop over in the call here and hear from Pierce Hanley, if Pierce is available. Take just a minute to wait on Pierce, but we are going to talk to your Auburn drivers here in just a moment. So Keegan, it was clear no one had anything for Connor Burns today, but the top of the GTP field was extremely competitive for most of the day. What did you see from those guys?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, that's fine, Jack.
Getting around traffic very well and actually, like avoiding, inopportune passes and times where they could have, maybe being a little smart. Just a lot of discipline from the GTP class. Very impressed.
I said drag me. My bad. Can they not drag me? Do they still not have permission to do that? What in the world? All right, yeah.
Pierce, how's it going?
Pretty good.
So nice second place today. Obviously, Connor Burns took his third win of the season in 3 events, but you were still able to come home second after starting third. You got that position over James Bowman, and staying out longer looked to absolutely be the play as Bowman got caught up in some of that lap traffic, could not make his way forward with that earlier pit stop. What was the decision that went into that strategy call that got you up the place?
Me and my engineer were talking through this different strategies, and for the most part, a lot of these races, the best thing to do is to stay out as long as possible and try and get clean air. When he took that early pit stop, I was like, I'm just going to stay out until my fuel's empty, just to try and get clean air as long as I could and just tick the laps off. I knew he'd get probably caught up, but had some bad luck at the beginning of the race with lap traffic, not my lap traffic in front of me, but getting passed in bad spots, whereas the guy in second and first was getting passed on the straight. So some bad luck there. But yeah, overall good race. Connor definitely ran away with it.
Yeah, I will say, your first race of the season. So, how did it feel to be just back in the seat? I know it's been a little bit for you since you hopped into some CIL sports cars. So, what were the initial impressions of getting back in today?
Just honestly filling out the grid, seeing what everybody could really realistically do. There's some new names that I didn't recognize that I was curious to see how they would compete, but um, not super surprised. Connor's really quick. I was looking over his telemetry and stuff, and he's a quick guy, but um, yeah, really good race.
All right. Well, thanks for chatting to us, Pierce, and congratulations on the podium finish, War Eagle.
War Eagle, thank you.
All right. We'll see if we can hear from Nathan as well. Hey, Nathan. It's Micah. Congratulations on the solid run today. I know starting eighth, maybe not what you anticipated at the beginning, but still was able to keep it fairly clean today. How'd you feel just overall at the event? It's your second top 15 finish in a row.
I felt like Lightning McQueen.
Yeah, I mean, we saw you give it everything you had, even till the end. I think it was like one of the last two corners, you dipped into the gravel, trying to make a move on the car in front of you. So how do you feel about your effort today?
Pretty good. Need to work on apparently driving high speed circuits because that's where I seem to suffer a bit.
All right. Well, thank you for talking to us, Nathan. I appreciate the time. Congratulations, like I said, on the second consecutive top 15, and hope to see you keep moving up as we keep going on because I noticed you have been improving as the season's gone on. So thank you, Nathan, and War Eagle.
War Eagle.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in tonight. I appreciate each and every one of you. This has been Auburn iRacing CIL Sports Cars on YouTube for my partner Keegan Miller and myself, Micah Farmer. This has been a great time. And again, thank you all for tuning in. And we will see you after spring break, the Monday after spring break, for your next broadcast of Auburn iRacing. That'll be back to CIL Cup Series. So until then,